Hey girlies, it's Tammy. Welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we're doing everything soft glam, and I'm going to make this very beginner friendly. So we're going to be talking placement, products, all of that good stuff. So let's jump into it. First step is always primer. Well, first step is skincare, but I've already got my serum, moisturizer, all of that on. You want to make sure you're starting with a clean face. Serum, moisturizer. I've also done my brows already. So primer will depend on your skin type. I personally have large pores and oily skin, so I like to go in with primers that will combat that. I've got the Fenty Beauty Soft Matte Primer. I like this because even though it's a little bit mattifying, it's not drying. And then I also have the Laura Mercier Blurring Primer, and I just put that in this area to blur my pores. If you have dry skin, use a hydrating primer. If you have textured skin, use a smoothing primer. There's all types of different primers. So I'm starting with the Fenty Primer all over, and then the Blurring Primer I'm just going to keep right there where my pores are largest. Now this is very important. You want to give that a minute to set down into your face. Don't go straight on with foundation, just give it a minute to dry. I think this foundation is so underrated. It's the Rem Beauty foundation. It did come out this year, I think, so it's pretty recent, but this formula I think is very similar to the House Labs foundation. Glowy but long wearing, full coverage, really nice and creamy on the skin. I love this foundation. So I'm in the shade, well I was in the shade Deep 7N, but I feel like that was when I was a little bit tan, you know, fresh off of holiday. So I do also have Deep 1N. I think I'm gonna should I try this? I'm gonna try Deep 1N by itself, and if it's too light I'll put a little bit of this one. I don't know if you can tell, but it's mattified and blurred my pores right here, because before they were quite noticeable, but now my skin looks smooth, ready for foundation. Now I personally like to keep foundation on the outer areas of my face because I'm going to use concealer underneath my eyes. There's no real need to put foundation right underneath the eyes. And for blending, some people prefer brushes, some people prefer sponges, but I like to use a dense fluffy brush. I just feel like it covers the face. Oh, actually my latest favorite has been this Doe Beauty. Look how large this is. It just covers the face so nicely. I think it's called their Jumbo Solid Start Brush. So what I'm going to do is just press that into the skin. So you see I'm just pouncing it in. Sometimes I feel like if you drag foundation along, it moves the coverage. This shade match is okay actually. I don't put tons of foundation on my forehead, just kind of here where I have a little bit of scarring, but the outside of my forehead I just leave for my cream bronzer. Next I like to do cream bronzer to bring back some structure and colour to my face. So I'm taking my Huda Beauty Tan Tool. I forgot how much I love this, but I use the shade Medium, which is actually quite deep. And once again, a dense fluffy brush, but this one is smaller to fit into the hollows of my cheek. I pick up some of that product, start on my forehead, and just dab, once again pressing into the skin, not swiping. And also on the cheeks, I just press it onto my cheekbone, kind of where my blush would go. So you can see naturally I have this shadow there. I don't like to take my bronzer, this is no bronzer by the way, I don't like to take my bronzer underneath that line because it will get rid of the definition there. So I keep it right on top of that line and blend it up. I also like to put down a little bit of bronzer on my nose just to bring a little bit of definition back to it, because the foundation does kind of wipe out the dimension of it. I'm not precise with this step because I will go in with concealer and powder. All of that will end up cleaning it up. This is just to put some shadow down. So now we're here. I like to do eyeshadow before I do anything underneath my eyes, just in case I need to clean up the edges, just in case I get fallout on my face. You want to prime your eyes with some form of eyeshadow base. This will make sure that you don't get, you see I had a crease there before. The eyeshadow primer will make sure your eyeshadows do not crease. Some people like to use concealer to prime their eyes, but I just find that the concealer creases. So I like to use an eyeshadow base. This is from P. Louise. Now when it comes to eyeshadow, there's so many soft glam options you can do. You can do the standard dark color on the outer V, transition color in the crease, and then a light color on the lid. I personally, how I feel more confident in soft glam is with a dark smoky eye, but make it brown, not black, you know. And lately my favorite palette has been the MAC Connect in color, wait, what's this called, Future Flame eyeshadow palette, which looks like this. They absolutely killed it with this color selection. It's warm tones, it's deep tones. However, if you do want a cheaper alternative, I think the Revolution Neutrals 3 Reloaded palette is perfect, and I think it's only like £5, but you get those same rich berry warm tones. So I'm going to start with this shade here, and I'm just going to pat that all over my lid. Like I said, a brown smoky eye is really how I love to do soft glam. It just makes me feel pretty and I am gonna wing it out. I do like to wing out my eyeshadows. It suits my eye shape. Because I'm doing this week of videos, I'm really struggling on TikTok. Not struggling, but like I have no content to post because I'm obviously filming for YouTube. So I'm thinking if I should do my other eye on TikTok just so I have something to post. And I don't know if you noticed, but I'm just tapping that on because I feel like it blends and diffuses it nicely without rubbing. So just tap in and it's like got a soft diffusion ready for the next shade I'm gonna take, which is this kind of warm caramel brown terracotta down here. And this one I'm gonna run through the crease, but I'm not carrying it all the way up to the brow bone because I do want to save that for a skin tone color. And then for up by the brow bone, I'm going to take this shade here, which is basically my skin tone kind of, and this gently blend in right up by the brow bone. Now that we've got every shade laid down, I'm going to go back in with each shade and re-intensify, working my way back down. So starting with that caramel brown, terracotta, top, whatever, this one. And then last but not least, back in with the first shade that I used, re-intensifying that darkness. And this time I am gonna swipe it on because it has something to blend into now, before it didn't. Okay, so that is more or less the eyeshadow. Now for my favorite part, whenever I do a smoky eye like this, I cannot skip this step. Glitter! So I bought this palette from a brand called Take Two Cosmetics, and it was like £20 for all of these stunning press shimmers. Because they're press shimmers, you don't need a glue with it, they will stick themselves. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go for the chocolate brown. So I'm just gonna lightly swirl my finger in there and gently tap that all over the lid. I want a nice diffusion of it rather than a solid swipe of it, and I just think it adds the nicest glam to the soft glam, you know? Okay, I'm gonna do my other eye and I'll come back. Okay, other eye is done. Now, a common mistake that I see people making is putting lashes on now. You should wait till after powder, just so your powder doesn't get stuck in the lashes and making them look, you know, ashy. So we're moving on to concealer. You wanna take any concealer that you have. I love the Too Faced Born This Way, and because I'm on my retinol skincare journey right now, my skin is drier than normal, so underneath my eyes can get a little bit dry. So I'm preferring a hydrating concealer nowadays. Concealer placement, obviously straight underneath your eyes. Now, some people can carry it out, but I just like to do it here as well, because once you start blending it will move anyway. You don't need to kind of connect them, so I just do it like that. Then I also do my chin and center of my forehead, center of my face basically. Now this is my first layer of concealer. This could be your only layer if you want. Yeah, I just prefer a brighter under eye. Once again, some people prefer brushes, some people prefer sponges. I like to use both. I do start with a brush to make sure that I keep the coverage, and I start with these areas of my face before I do my under eye, just because I want the under eye to be the most coverage, and the longer you leave a concealer to set down, the more coverage you will keep. So you see, even though I've used a brush, the edges of that concealer is not fully blended in, which is what the sponge is for after. This is just to tap the concealer in to keep the coverage there. Right, next I take a flat brush like this, and I use this to clean up the edges of my concealer, my eyeshadow. So I start from my outer corner and just drag that upwards, and then blend the concealer down. Now back to the fluffy brush. This is by P. Louise, by the way. It's their F42 brush, but any small dense brush. This one's nice because it's angled. I think it works really well for concealer. So I'm just tapping out the edges of my eye. Now that everything else is blended out, it's time to blend underneath the eyes. So I grab some of the product and drag it across. So like I said, it does connect. I also take some of that down my nose to reverse contour. Very good. I need to like be up in the mirror to get under there. Now, once I've got as much coverage as possible from the brush, I go in with my sponge. Usually it is a little bit more damp than this, but I can't bother to get up right now. So this is fine. It's damp from yesterday's video. I'm just gonna dab over the edges of the concealer to blend it into my foundation. And then I use just one pass underneath my eyes to grab any extra product, but I don't want to lose too much coverage under there, so I won't do loads of passes. Now, this is where you would do cream blusher. So I'm going to take my e.l.f. Camo Liquid Blush in the shade Gorge Orange. And I like to keep my blush up high on my cheekbone and blend that in. Okay, I want a little bit more than that. That blended out very sheer, so I'm going to go in with more. If this is bright enough for you underneath the eyes, then you can just leave it here, move on to powder. However, I do want to go for an extra bright under eye. I feel like it really gives that UK baddie makeup look, you know? So I'm taking my Jouer concealer in the shade Honey, which was nearly out, so I had to take the stopper out. Look how much product is coming out on the brush now. I'm just gonna take a tiny bit of this right on the inner corner here to brighten. And I am gonna keep it right on that inner corner. I'm not gonna carry it across or anything like that. Blending it into the first concealer we put down. Boom. Now quick fast before you start creasing, set it. I'm taking my Huda Beauty banana bread powder and I'm going to take this on a powder puff. You can use the damp sponge as well. You can also use a brush. It just depends on your personal preference. I do find you get a brighter, more coverage with a powder puff. If you want more of a natural finish, definitely use the sponge. So I dip the powder puff into the powder and then I press off the excess into my hand, start on my pore area and then carry it up to my under eye, just so I'm not dabbing a load of powder right underneath my eye. Here is where I need the most powder, so that's where I start, and then I carry up and out. I'm very proud of that. I just did that without a mirror. Now I have oily skin, like I said, so I do use a little bit more powder than some would deem necessary, but I also do feel like it gives me like a flawless look, and whatever's left on the powder puff I just carry everywhere else. Now if you want to be really snatched, you take some of that powder underneath that contour line as well. Once again, start down here and then carry it up. Right, so this is how we're looking so far. Very sharp, very harsh, yeah? So the one step that I would say is crucial to blending everything together is a face powder. A face powder that's your shade. I personally love the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless powder in shade 3. As you guys can tell, she's well loved. But also I do love the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish. This one's more of a glowy finish, and this is also in the shade dark. And I take it on a nice big fluffy brush and I start on my contour area and just dab it all over. This is gonna marry everything together. Sorry, my camera stopped recording, but I'm basically just taking this skin tone shade from the eyeshadow palette and I'm running that down the sides of my nose to set the bronzer that I put there earlier, but also to marry it with the reverse contour that I did with the powder. All of this stuff I'm doing with my nose. If you don't like nose contour, you don't have to do any of this. You could just leave it with the foundation. Now this is the perfect time, now that we're all set, nothing is creamy or wet. Now you can go in with your powder, blusher and bronzers. So I like to start with bronzer, and I've recently been loving this MAC Radiant Skin Finish Rich Rosy. It's basically a shimmery bronzer without glitter. It just has a really nice sheen, and put it everywhere that I put the Huda Beauty Tantour cream bronzer. Once again, dab because you don't want to disturb everything underneath. And for blush today, I'm going to use this Technique shimmer blush in the shade, but it's not spelled Technique, it's Technique. Okay, am I fighting myself? Technique shimmer blush in the shade Indian Summer. These are literally like under £5. I've had this for a couple years now and I've used it religiously, and you guys can see it's barely even made a dent, so definitely worth the money. But this is such a beautiful orange blush with a gold shimmer. I don't typically use highlighter, so I do like to use a shimmer blusher, which is why the Rare Beauty shimmer blushes meant so much to me when they came out. But this Rare Beauty needs a shade like this. Actually, why do they when we've got an affordable version? But an orange with a gold shimmer. And I'm just gonna put that on my cheeks so you guys see that gold sheen, but when you turn to the front you've got blush. Oh, love it. This is the perfect time to go in and set your face. Now I love the One Size setting spray. If you want makeup that's going to last you all night long, this is perfect. However, mine is nearly empty, so I'm not going to waste it on just a video. I need to save this for when I'm actually going out. So another setting spray that I've really been loving is the Beauty Crop X Amelia Olivia Glow Milk Mist. And this is just gonna sink in all the powders, bring back a little bit of a skin glow, but also make your makeup last. Also, if you want something that basically combines these two, I would highly recommend the Charlotte Tilbury setting spray. You can almost feel when it goes on, it's wet, so it's like this, whereas this isn't wet when it goes on. It's wet like this, it gives your skin a nice glow, but once it dries down, you can almost feel like your face a little bit tight, not uncomfortable, but a little bit set, you know, and your makeup lasts all night. So I would highly recommend Charlotte Tilbury setting spray as well. So now is the time to finish up the eyes. I'm going to do the lower lash line. I'm going to put some lashes on. I'm going to use the same browns that I used on top underneath, put some lashes on, and then I'll come back. Eyes are finished. Let's move on to lips. Now I think everyone knows how to do their lips, so I'm not going to give any tips or anything like this. We're literally just going to do our lip convo, nude of course. If you did want to do a red or a pink or a purple or whatever on the lips, I would just say go wing lashes or nothing on the eyes. Sometimes when you do like a lot on the eyes and then red lips, it just looks too much. People don't know where to focus. So if you're doing this on the eyes, I would say go with a nude lip. But if you've done very little on the eyes, you can experiment with fun lip colors. So I'm going to start with my MAC Chestnut lip liner. I'm going to take this Revolution lipstick in the shade Lover Nude. Blend it into the lip liner. Now I love a glossy lip, so I'm going to take the Fenty Beauty Gloss Slipper, which is basically the clear gloss. Like, look at that. Oh, how could you not love lip gloss? I do naturally have a beauty mark there and there, so I'm just going to reinforce this one. And also I like to put one underneath my eye. A little one there. Beauty marks are totally optional, of course. Right guys, that is everything. I hope this video was helpful for you guys so you can go forth and conquer your own soft glam, and I will see you tomorrow for my next video. Take care, bye.